Oh,
go.
it's my
Oh,
great pleasure to see Denise. Hi,
hi,
Denise.
Denise.
Hi, sorry about that. Apparently there are issues from Walmart getting into the studio, but we figured it out.
Well, it's so lovely to have you here. And I leave you and Robin to have a lovely discussion, and I will pop back on after you've finished.
Fantastic. Thanks, Janice.
Great.
Hi,
So,
Robin.
Denise, hi. It's great to see you again.
Nice to see you.
And I'm very excited to get into this conversation. Um, so, do we have? I think do we have a moderator, or is it just you and I?
I thought you were the moderator, but I'm going to go with whatever.
Okay. Well, I can do that. First of all, let me therefore introduce you and myself. I'm Robin Lewis, CEO and founder of the Robin Report, which is a digital media platform about the strategy and operations of the retail industry, primarily for the senior and C-level suites. And I'm going to have a conversation with Denise Incandela, who is an incredible person. She is the executive vice president of apparel and private brands at Walmart in the United States, and about driving the fashion strategy and some very exciting technology advancements for Walmart fashion. So, Denise, since joining Walmart in 2017, the apparel business has been credited at Walmart for making some bold moves in fashion that people might not expect from a company that, as we know, was long known for apparel basics. And this is what prompted me to write an article in July titled Walmart Fashion No Longer an Oxymoron. And for my story, I read several interviews where you were quoted about your career in Walmart's fashion business. And I want to share three of the quotes that stood out to me. I want to share them with the audience. Number one, you said you've always considered yourself a transformational change agent. And boy, you're proving that. Number two, you felt you had a keen sense of what was coming down the pike. And three, about joining Walmart, you said it was an extraordinary opportunity to do something that hadn't been done before. So, Denise, fill us in a little more on this for the audience.
Yeah, I mean, thank you, Robin. You've always been
You're welcome.
I would say that transformation and change is, what inspires me to any role. And whether it was in, oh gosh, I'm really going to date myself. So don't judge me. But when it was in 1999, when I left McKinsey to go to Saks, to start up Saks.com, when it was just a concept and nobody believed luxury apparel would sell online. And the only thing that was frankly selling online was books and electronics. And so that opportunity to take this concept of apparel, especially luxury apparel, and bring it online was an incredibly exciting opportunity. And I got to do that for, I spent 15 years at Saks, mostly on the e-com side, but then ultimately became the chief marketing officer there, as well as the chief digital officer, trying to bring the rigor and discipline of digital to marketing, which traditionally had been Vogue ads and catalogs and a very different mindset. And so that was a tremendous amount of fun too. And then from there went to Ralph Lauren and thought that there was a huge transformational opportunity there because Ralph Lauren was one of the biggest American brands, should have a very high digital IQ. And, the opportunity, and I ran the digital business there globally, to make Ralph Lauren one of the best when it came to digital innovation, felt like a big opportunity. Yep. And then almost 5 years ago now, I got a LinkedIn request to explore an opportunity with Walmart and to lead the Walmart fashion business. And
That must have been some that must have been some email.
and a man named Steve Sadoff, who you know very well, who
Oh,
was
yeah.
with the CEO of Saks Fifth Avenue and a mentor to me,
Yep.
said, "Run, don't walk." I had other opportunities on the table, and he said, it's down to Walmart and Amazon, and this is the opportunity of a lifetime. And Walmart is just scratching the surface. At that time, it was just an e-commerce job, but running all of fashion, to put them on the map. And
Yep.
this is, an opportunity of a lifetime. So I did take it seriously, where having been in luxury apparel for a long time, it wouldn't have been something that I would have naturally thought about, but it turned out to be an extraordinary opportunity. And I did run toward it. And that now, over the last 2 years, have taken on the store business too. We have 4,000 stores, and you can imagine how big that business is. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
it's been a tremendous, again, another transformation. And what initially attracted me to the role was the e-commerce part, but frankly, a lot of the strategy that we created for the e-commerce part is very relevant to the stores as well.
Yeah. Steve Sadoff is terrific, and what a great mentor for you. And for him to be able to say, run, don't walk towards that opportunity, I think is terrific. So, Denise, your Walmart customer is obviously very different than the customer you serve, in your prior positions at Ralph Lauren and Saks. So, how did you go from building customer relationships with premium brands to reaching, really the mass market customer that is price conscious?
Yeah. So look, I love luxury, and I have extraordinary appreciation for that market, but I was in the rarefied space of the 1% of the country. And so the opportunity to impact America and what felt like a change the world opportunity, like if we get the product right, if we get the shopping experience right, and if we get the marketing and messaging to the consumer right, this is a change. In my mind, I say change the world, but change the America opportunity that is incredibly motivating and compelling. And so that's really what the attraction was for me. And everyone should have access to great fashion, or, great apparel, or great editorial, irrespective of the budget. And certainly with the scale of Walmart, we should be able to do it cheaper, and with better prices than anybody else. And by bringing in the right talent, and bringing in the right national brands, and creating a different store experience, we can completely change the way 90% of Americans are coming into a Walmart, and completely change their experience with apparel within Walmart.
Yeah, that's an incredible vision, and I see it playing out. What you're talking about here is beginning to work, and I applaud you for that. So, your promotion to executive vice president of apparel and private brands at Walmart, it really broadened your responsibility beyond just the e-commerce to actually include the elevation of fashion in the stores as well. So, how have you brought an overall fashion perspective to Walmart, and give us some of the major initiatives that have been a part of your strategy?
Yeah. So, one of the, I'm an ex McKinsey consultant, so very fact based. And that, I did that before I went to Saks. And before that, I was an investment banker. So, and I have a finance MBA. So I'm pretty, I try to be pretty fact based. And so, one of the first things we did was the consumer insights work, because it wouldn't make sense to expand the average unit retails and bring in national brands and do a lot of things that we did if the consumer didn't want any of it. And what we realized was that 70% of our current Walmart customer spend was in higher average unit retails than they were getting within Walmart. So we were offering opening price point kind of basic socks and underwear, but they were spending in their closet significantly more than what they were getting from Walmart. And we were basically walking them to the competition. And so that was the insight from my e-commerce days. And of course, understanding that and then getting the assortment right. And then, of course, improving the features and functionality online and all those other things were part of the online strategy. And then when I moved to the store side, we did the same analysis and understood that it was much broader than just e-com. Of course, all Walmart customers, where 90% of the country lives, within 10-minute drive to Walmart, and their share of closet that they was being supported by Walmart was way too small. It's massive business in the biggest apparel business in the country, depending on whether it's Amazon or Walmart these days, depending on who's measuring it. But there was so much opportunity to bring in national brands like Reebok and Justice and US Polo Association into the stores beyond the 1,000 brands that we brought online over the course of the last couple of years, national brands that we brought online, bringing in design talent, which we'd never had before, so that we could improve the assortment, the private brand assortment in terms of style and quality and attractiveness. And so hiring people from Nordstrom and Saks and Neiman's and Macy's and bringing in people who really understood fashion to fundamentally overhaul the assortment so that we could, again, as I say, like capture more of her share of closet or his share of closet. And so there was a whole strategy focused on getting the assortment right. And we're still on that path, right? Like you never feel like you're close to being done. I always say that I'm still 10% of the way there. But we've made incredible progress there. We've doubled our average unit retails, certainly online and even in stores, and the customer's just eating it up, which is fantastic.
Fantastic. That's great.
That's the assortment side. And of course, marketplace for online, which is because we're a long tail category. So being able to offer that long tail online is a big part of the solution there. And then the second big bucket was the shopping experience. And, thinking about that twofold, the store of the future. And for those who live in Arkansas, we have a store of the future in Northwest Arkansas in Elm Springs. And it's quite fantastic with digital displays and wider aisles and mannequins and all the things that you expect from a fashion shopping experience, but you wouldn't have seen from a Walmart before. And we pulled out 10% of the inventory and the sales went up 28%. So it was one of those things where just getting the fundamentals right had a huge impact. We're opening up a bunch more of these store of the futures this fall, and then plan to get into our remodels, which is about, a big number going forward. So that's super exciting because the unlock there, since we have 4,000 stores, is quite tremendous. And then online, also thinking about the store of the future, but from an online point of view. And I know we're going to talk a little bit about our virtual try-on technology, but things like that, which are critical to advancing our online shopping experience. So that's the whole second bucket. And then the third bucket was just changing their perception. I've worked with a lot of brands where the brand is stronger than the business, like Saks Fifth Avenue is a $3 billion company. The brand stronger than business. People all over the world have heard of Saks Fifth Avenue. Similar with Ralph, where the brand felt like it was stronger than business. With Walmart, the business is huge. But from a brand equity point of view in fashion, needed some building. And so, thinking through influencers and what our creative looks like and looking like a better department store online in terms of creative instead of how we looked before, so that we lift the merchandise instead of push it down, so that the customer could see all the hard work that we, in progress that we were making. So those were kind of the big three pillars that we focused on.
Yeah. Denise, the minute I started seeing these commercials that were very contemporary, and fashion was a part of it. I mean, it was like you could tell immediately that Walmart was repositioning its imagery. And I think they've done a great job, and probably a lot of influence from you. And by the way, I saw this morning that you announced a new virtual try-on feature. And obviously, since this is a 3D Tech Fest, I think it's a perfect segue right into what you are working on in terms of digital. So tell us about this new idea.
Yeah, we last year bought a company called Zekit, Israeli women-founded company, and they had a virtual try-on technology. We'd been in the market for about 9 months to a year, trying to think through what kind of virtual try-on technology was out there that would fundamentally change the shopping experience online. And to us, they felt like the best. If we go to the next page, this was, kind of what we were looking at. There was a lot of press when we bought them last year. You can see the model, and maybe we lost it now, but it's this, where you can see different outfits on her. And so we were very excited about it last year. We bought it, and then have spent, frankly, we spent the first 8 months building out the algorithms. And if we go to the next page, this was what we were so excited about, which was this I felt like it was it provided the opportunity for a gamification of shopping that hadn't yet existed. And for someone who's been in digital since the very, very early pioneering days, 2000, I felt like this was one of the biggest breakthroughs that I've seen in e-commerce, fashion shopping, since I'd been in this space. And if you move to the next chart, there was 2 big features that we could get from this technology that we bought and this company that we bought. One, this opportunity to choose your own model. And we wanted to start with models where we did the photography so that we could control the environment. And it's a machine learning algorithm that we've actually put a tremendous amount of work into, because it was originally based on Israeli bodies, and we were customizing it to American bodies. And so here, the first feature is choose your own model, where there was originally 50 models to choose from when we first launched it. And I'll take you through what that experience is like in a minute. And then we expanded it to 120 models because people were so excited about it, but they wanted, like, my shoulders are broader, or my hips are wider or narrower. And they were searching for models that look like them, which is why we feel so confident today that you being the model is going to be a big value versus choosing a model. So we went from 50 models to 120 models pretty darn quickly.
Wow.
And got very excited about the potential there. So that's one part of the feature set. And then the second is be your own model, which is what we're launching today. And frankly, it took the foundational work of choose your own model to even get to be your own model. Because as you said, we were able to control the photography and choose your model because we did the photography. Of course, we're not going to control the photography of be your own model. So you can imagine it becomes even more challenging with the second feature. So these are the 2 features. If you take us to the next slide, here's the experience. You put in your, the size that you are, the height that you are, and then you get a spectrum of models to choose from that are different height, weight, ethnicity.
Wow.
And then once you choose that model, you can use that model for all your product landing pages, for your product detail pages, or you can go back to the default model that we set. So it's a great feature. And if you go to the next page, I think we have sound on here. hopefully.
I like that you can select maybe someone that looks very much like yourself in terms of your body and how your body looks. I like that there was different model options that were maybe similar sizes, but were different heights as well. So it just seems like it's very diverse and can be very useful to anybody that would be shopping.
So it feels a lot more authentic. It definitely feels like a game changer in terms of browsing clothing, because I could see clothing through the lens of what it looks like on her. And that would be really helpful for me.
So what we were super excited, because the research that we did, that not only did we get improved conversion, which you would expect, and starting to see better return rates, but because imagine I'm 5'3", I'm looking at models that are 5'10", 5'11", the dress is going to fall in a different place on someone who's 5'11" than it is in 5'3". So that's how it could impact the return rate. And then, of course, giving me greater confidence in purchasing, which affects conversion. So what we were super excited about was when we did these focus groups, like the passion around being able to find someone that looked like them, and this constant ask of, can you give us more models? Can you give us more models? Was really exciting. And then if you go to the next page, what we're launching today, and this is like big drum roll, of course, is where you're the model. And so here's a video on the left where we instruct the customer how to take the photography, this was the wild card, right? That we didn't have with choose a model, which is now we had to teach the customer how to take the photography so that
your whole body is visible.
The tech would work.
Perfect.
This is incredible. Incredible.
So this is a very interesting mapping technology. We didn't want just like a paper doll, one flat image over another flat image. And this is what the Zika team brought to us, which was this like topography mapping technology that feels more like the fabric is on the person versus a paper doll outfit on a paper doll. And so it's this mapping topography technology. And again, there's so much machine learning that goes into it, and we're constantly improving it. And I would say we're still in nascent stages that I think makes it differentiated. Nobody that I'm aware of is doing it on the scale that we're doing it. We're introducing it. To start, it's on 270,000 items of our private brands, and some national brands, think Champion, Hanes, Levi's, and some marketplace items. And then, of course, the goal is to roll it out beyond those items and beyond the women's apparel category to men's apparel and kids apparel, and think accessories and eyewear. So you probably have seen a version of this technology for beauty and eyewear, which I think is more pervasive. But on the apparel side, it is a tougher challenge.
Well, Denise, this is incredible. It really is. And you guys are way out in front of this opportunity. And I don't know, I remember the statistic that I may be wrong, maybe you can correct me, but 70% of online returns are due to a fit, inaccurate fit. I don't know if that's, but it's close to 70%, whatever it is, which is enormous. And the amount of money that the cost of that is incredible. So this takes a huge step in correcting that particular problem. So,
Robin, let me just tag on to that, because here's what I would say. The fit thing is hard, right? Because whether I'm a size 2 or a size 4, this isn't going to inform that, because it doesn't have, whether it's a half inch bigger, but what it does inform is where the sleeve falls on my arm, where the dress falls on my leg. So I think it opens up, because we all know how much people love seeing themselves in social media. And so it opens up the aperture of the gamification part of shopping, which I don't think exists. And of course, adding social media sharing on our roadmap and other things like that, which is like, now I can show my mother, my friends, family, oh, here's 7 different outfits. What do you think? And I can,
Yeah.
you can see people getting obsessed with, oh my gosh, let me try on all these different things. And I think that's the big unlock, that if you think about behavior and social media, that can become this, incredible gamification of shopping that doesn't exist today, that I get super excited about, as well as like, I have a kid, for all of you who have children, you probably know how hard it is to get kids to try on clothes. So like, even being able to leverage something like this for kids, there's practical purposes. So is it perfect today? No, but is it like the step in the right direction? I think it's really intriguing. And what I would also say is, like, normally I've always advocated for being a fast follower versus a first mover, because the first mover has a lot of cost and pain and investment. But in this case, the machine learning is so intense and so difficult that there is some interesting, first mover advantages, which we got excited about.
Yeah. Yeah, and I get the fit thing. I mean, but I got to think that the style and what looks good on me and so forth and so on may help move towards, better fit.
For sure. And when you see it on a model, when you're seeing everything on a model who's 5'11" and 110 pounds, or whatever she is, 115 pounds, it's different when you see it on your own body and your own weight. And so that right there is a big impact.
Yeah. So, what's next in your virtual try-on? What's the next step?
Well, I think it's one, we have to continue to build out the catalog and go beyond the private brands and the select national brands that we have. We're going to be continuing to learn how to build those algorithms and make them feel more accurate to the fit. And then, of course, going into new categories, and whether it's apparel categories or eyewear categories or beauty or whatever it is, there's so much opportunity with VR. And I think we're scratching the surface in terms of shopping. And so I expect that in the next 3 to 5 years, we're going to see some big advancements here.
Yeah, and you guys are leading the way. You are actually a first mover in certainly in this particular area. So, what advice would you give to next gens who want to make brands and retail relevant and meaningful to their customers?
I mean, number one, of course, find the white space and make sure that whatever you're building out is relevant to the consumer. And I would say I've been in this space on the e-com side, and we have 3 businesses: Bonobos, a company called Eloquy, and Moose Jaw, all of who were, D2Cs, at least Bonobos and Eloquy to start. So very entrepreneurial. And I think it's just, the people in the audience know this, it's cracking a problem that nobody else has cracked yet. Being true to make sure that you get the foundational right. What I've seen in my career is sometimes people are so focused on the fancy stuff that you miss the foundational elements. And that's a big problem, because if the foundational elements aren't there, the business model usually doesn't work. The customers aren't going to be, and then being customer obsessed, but not to the point where there's no path to profitability. And I think that's always the challenge, is that Amazon was a great example of something a company that didn't make money for a long time, but eventually got where it did. But not all companies have that path. And if there is no real path to profitability, it's challenging.
Yeah, it's kind of switching over to another type of question here. So, as a woman who's made it to the top of the executive team of a large company, which is an understatement. In fact, it's the largest retailer in the world. Do you have any advice for women who are working in the industry and who are looking to grow either their own business or within the company they work for? And what advice would you give to the next gen female leaders?
Yeah. So one thing, I've never thought of myself as a woman leader. I've always thought of myself as a leader. And so my advice has always been the same, maybe with one exception where I double underscore one of them. And so first is, of course, over deliver. Like whenever you take a job, think about the job above that and act like you're in the job above it. And so constantly look to over deliver relative to expectations and take the mindset of your boss. And so I think people, if they see you behaving like you're already in the next job and you have the mindset and enterprise-wide view, they start thinking about you differently. Some of the big mistakes I made in my career was that I was so, especially coming from Wharton MBA, investment banker background, McKinsey, I kind of thought I could outwork everything and be successful just from outworking. And we worked super hard. That's not the recipe to success. At least in my experience, it's been about creating relationships, creating a network of people who advocate for your success and for your business success, and making sure that you're advocating for them too. And I think sometimes people don't realize, especially in a corporation, that their success is determined not just by what their boss thinks of you, but what everybody thinks of you. And so they kind of play to their boss and not to their peers and their boss's peers and the broader organization. And that was a failure on my part, where I went into Saks and I didn't create the right relationships to start. And so I learned, of course, you stub your toe and you learn. But I still see people focused on themselves versus focused on making sure that there's a lot of people think that you're great, because you want a lot of people to think you're great. And then finding mentors. And this is probably the one that I underscore and triple underscore for women, because I just think women are traditionally have, this hasn't been as easy for women as it has for men, but you have to have what is super helpful is having a sponsor in the company or somebody outside of the company like Steve Sadoff for me, where that you can pressure test approaches, ideas, how you're handling problems. And that's been invaluable for me, is that most of my mentors have been previous bosses. And so they become the mentor when I move to the next job. And so I have people that I consider mentors from 30 years ago when I first came out of undergrad, and then when I first came out of graduate school, that still to this day I speak to every 3 months, and I value their advice so much. And so I think men have historically been better at that than women, and especially those mentors and sponsors that are in the company that you work, they can have a huge impact on helping you navigate and accelerate within that company.
Those are really great points, Denise, for these young people coming up. And at some point in business, we'll stop using the word woman, or it will change its meaning, because I think women are really rising to the top across the boards in every way in life. So, and you are a great example of one of those. So finally, Denise, in this kind of crazy world we're living in, how do you find the right work-life balance?
Yeah. So that's another one that people probably don't like my answer, but I don't think of it as a work-life balance, because my work is part of my life and I love to work. And just like I love my family, if life is supposed to be family. But for me, I'm a really hard worker. I've always been a hard worker. So I've always sought after opportunities that had the intensity that mirrored my intensity as an executive there. And by the way, I have one child, right? So I've chosen the path of high intensity at work, but I've chosen the low intensity path for family. I have friends who have 5 kids. That's a whole different level of intensity. And I have friends who have 5 kids and have a high intense job. So like you have to create the puzzle that works for you. You know, do you want, yeah. And I think that for me, because working has always been part of my life, I'm as passionate and fulfilled by my work experience as I am by my family and my friends and my other parts of my life. I blend them all together as part of a fulfilling, joyful life for me. So I've never thought about that balance part, because to me, it's all part of what makes my life great and fulfilling, if that makes sense.
It makes total sense, Denise. And I like your philosophy. It's great. And I try to do the same thing. I love my work. And so it really is not one or the other.
Yeah.
But what wonderful points you make, and good human advice. And you are terrific. And I really had a great time. I wish I could talk to you for another hour. Maybe we'll get together for lunch sometime. But we do need to wrap it up now. So I thank you so very, very much for sharing your incredible initiatives. And I learned a lot, and I'm sure our audience did as well. So thanks again, Denise.
No, you're welcome. I don't know, are we taking audience questions? I know there are some. I defer to you guys.
There are some, if you're willing to take them, because this is the last session of the day. We have a couple of questions. I think you've answered partially some of these. But the first one was, what are you doing differently than prior teams who have not had fashion success at Walmart?
Yep. So one, I would never want to presume that we haven't had fashion success at Walmart, because we are the biggest apparel business in the country. And I have extraordinary, awesome success for respect for that. So I think the value that the team and myself are trying to add is transform and go beyond the enormity of the business that we have today, to take more of the share of closet and expand beyond the basics and opening price point into these higher price points and national brands where we haven't explored before. So I think it's just expanding the assortment, because we've got 200 million people across our website and stores every week coming to Walmart.
Wow.
Think about our superpower is grocery. That's our superpower. We have 4,000 doors, and we have an extraordinary grocery business that brings in all these people. And so leveraging these people to not just sell socks and underwear, go beyond socks and underwear, I think is an extraordinary opportunity. And so for me, it was just bringing in people with fashion experience, because it's never one person, right? Like I'm one of many who are passionate about the vision, where we can enable people to have great style at extraordinary price points and make everyone feel beautiful, and live a better life. So that's the goal.
And Denise, let me add this. I know that the visitation rate in grocery stores is, I think, something like 4 times a week on average across the categories. And the visitation rates in department stores are something like 6 times a year.
Yeah, exactly. So it's leveraging that traffic that, as I said, I think that's Walmart's superpower, especially in times like this where discretionary spend is tighter, and people are spending their money on food.
I think that actually answers the next question that we actually had from the same question, which was, are you expecting to see a surge in new customers in Q4 given increasing inflation and shift to shop local? I mean, you did actually mention before that everybody lives in the 10-mile radius of a Walmart. So
yeah, we are local. I like we're as local as they come. I would say that this should be a moment where Walmart, and we take our mission very seriously, of serving customers who are very budget conscious and barely can cover their food and gas. And so making sure that we have a wide range of assortment that accommodates that customer, as well as the customer who might want to shop at Target, Amazon, Kohl's, like others. That's our focus. So we will never walk away from that opening price point. As a matter of fact, we continue to make sure that we win in that opening price point, and we take that seriously now more than ever, because we need to be there for our customer. We take our position within their lives very, very seriously. So providing the best style at the best price is our focus. So just because it's a $7 item, or it's a $17 item, or it's a $37 item, it should be an exceptional value.
Well, we started working with Walmart, I think in 2005. It was the first time that I actually got to go to Bentonville, Arkansas. And I think the one thing that actually always always, since the day that we walked in there, made me understand was Walmart's willingness to actually invest in data analytics and understanding the consumer. I mean, Walmart was the first one to actually do different shaped plus size garments, like for different women. And whenever I actually have those conversations with clients, that Walmart knows their customer. They know their customers, the most important thing to them. And it truly, now with your virtual try on, we're so excited to see it. And it really brings, all of that work that has been over so many years really to the forefront of understanding the customer and being able to serve her and him and all of her children very, very, very well. And so with this, we want to thank you so much for announcing your virtual try-on today.
Yeah. The timing couldn't have been better, right? Literally, the press is just hitting now. So thank you for inviting me. It is a privilege to be able to join your talk.
It
was a privilege for me to interview you, Denise.
Yeah, it was nice to see you, Robin.
And Janice, thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.